This is the history of the division of the days of the law and of the testimony, of the events of the years, of their weeks, of their jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as the Lord spake to Moses on Mount Sinai, when he went up to receive the tables of the law and of the commandment, according to the voice of God as he said unto him, Go up to the top of the mount. Noah plants a vineyard and offers a sacrifice, 1-5. Becomes drunk and exposes his person, 6-9. The cursing of Canaan and blessing of Shem and Japheth, 10-12. Cf. Gen 9. 20-28. Noah's sons and grandsons and their cities, 13-19. Noah teaches his sons regarding the causes of the deluge and admonishes them to avoid the eating of mood and murder, to keep the law regarding fruit trees and let the land lie fallow every 7th year, as Enoch had directed, 20-39. And in the 7th week in the 1st year thereof, in this jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Luber, one of the Ararat mountains, and they produced fruit in the 4th year, and he guarded their fruit, and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine therefrom and put it into a vessel, and kept it until the 5th year, until the 1st day, on the new moon of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast, and he made a burnt sacrifice unto the Lord, 1 young ox and 1 ram, and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of the goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first, and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar which he had made, and all the fat he laid on the altar where he made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox and the ram and the sheep, and he laid all their flesh upon the altar. And he placed all their offerings mingled with oil upon it, and afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar, and he placed incense on the altar and caused a sweet savor to ascend acceptable before the Lord his God. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunken he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem took his garment and arose, he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders and went backward and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep and knew all that his younger son had done unto him, and he cursed his son and said, Cursed be Canaan, an enslaved servant shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed Shem, and said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and God shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son, and he parted from his father, he and his sons with him, Cush and Mizraim and Put and Canaan. And he built for himself a city and called its name after the name of his wife Niadamuk. And Japheth saw it, and became envious of his brother, and he too built for himself a city, and he called its name after the name of his wife Admonitions. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain, and he too called its name after the name of his wife Sedeketulbab. And behold, these 3 cities are near Mount Luber. Sedeketulbab fronting the mountain on its east, and Niadamuk on the south, Admonitions towards the west. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arpachshad this son was born 2 years after the flood, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan, Tubal and Meshech and Tiras, these are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee Noah began to enjoin upon his sons' sons the ordinances and commandments, and all the judgments that he knew, and he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. For owing to these 3 things came the flood upon the earth, namely, owing to the fornication wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went a-whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness. And they begot sons the Naphitim, and they were all unlike, and they devoured one another, and the giant slew the Naphil, and the Naphil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo mankind, and one man another. And every one sold himself to work iniquity and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with iniquity. And after this they sinned against the beasts and birds, and all that moves and walks on the earth, and much blood was shed on the earth, and every imagination and desire of men imagined vanity and evil continually. And the Lord destroyed everything from off the face of the earth, because of the wickedness of their deeds, and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth he destroyed everything. And we were left, I and you, my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark, and behold I see your works before me that ye do not walk in righteousness, for in the path of destruction ye have begun to walk, and ye are parting one from another, and are envious one of another, and, so it comes, that ye are not in harmony, my sons, each with his brother. For I see, and behold the demons have begun their seductions against you and against your children, and now I fear on your behalf, that after my death ye will shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that ye too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoso sheddeth man's blood, and whoso eateth the blood of any flesh, will all be destroyed from the earth. And there will not be left any man that eateth blood, or that sheddeth the blood of man on the earth. Nor will there be left to him any seed or descendants living under heaven, for into Sheol will they go, and into the place of condemnation will they descend, and into the darkness of the deep will they all be removed by a violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you of all the blood there shall be all the days in which ye have killed any beasts or cattle or whatever flies upon the earth, and work ye a good work to your souls by covering that which has been shed on the face of the earth. And ye shall not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus have I been commanded to testify to you and your children, together with all flesh. And suffer not the soul to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For the earth will not be clean from the blood which has been shed upon it, for only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. And now, my children, hearken, work judgment and righteousness that ye may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth, and your glory lifted up before my God, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And behold, ye will go and build for yourselves cities, and plant in them all the plants that are upon the earth, and moreover all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years the fruit of everything that is eaten will not be gathered, and in the 4th year its fruit will be accounted holy, and they will offer the firstfruits, acceptable before the Most High God, who created heaven and earth and all things. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil as firstfruits on the altar of the Lord, who receives it, and what is left let the servants of the house of the Lord eat before the altar which receives it. And in the 5th year, make ye the release so that ye release it in righteousness and uprightness, and ye shall be righteous, and all that you plant will prosper. For thus did Enoch, the father of your father command Methuselah, his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech, and Lamech commanded me all the things which his fathers commanded him. And I also will give you commandment, my sons, as Enoch commanded his son in the first Jubilees. Whilst still living, the 7th in his generation, he commanded and testified to his son and to his son's sons until the day of his death. 8. Cainam discovers an inscription relating to the sun and stars, 1-4. His sons, 5-8. Noah's sons and Noah divide the earth, 10-11. Shem's inheritance, 12-21. Ham's, 22-24. Japheth's, 25-30. In the 29th Jubilee, in the 1st week, in the beginning thereof Arpachshad took to himself a wife, and her name was Rezuajah, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam, and she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and he called his name Cainam. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found a writing which former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it and sinned owing to it. For it contained the teaching of the watchers in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars in all the signs of heaven. And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it lest he should be angry with him on account of it. And in the 30th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 1st year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Melka, the daughter of Madai, the son of Japheth, and in the 4th year he begot a son, and called his name Shelah, for he said, Truly I have been sent. And in the 4th year he was born, and Shelah grew up and took to himself a wife, and her name was Muake, the daughter of Kest, his father's brother, in the 31st Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year thereof. And she bare him a son in the 5th year thereof, and he called his name Eber. And he took unto himself a wife, and her name was Azurad, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 3rd year thereof. And in the 6th year thereof, she bare him a son, and he called his name Peleg, for in the days when he was born the children of Noah began to divide the earth amongst themselves, for this reason he called his name Peleg. And they divided it secretly amongst themselves, and told it to Noah. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem and Ham and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each, in the 1st year in the 1st week, when one of us, who had been sent, was with them. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession, and they reached forth their hands, and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah, their father. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot the middle of the earth which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the generations of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water from the river Tina, and his portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river, and it extends till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth and pours its waters into the sea Miat, and this river flows into the great sea. And all that is towards the north is Japheth's, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem. And it extends till it reaches Carasso, this is in the bosom of the tongue which looks towards the south. And his portion extends along the great sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue which looks towards the south, for this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and it turns from here towards the south, towards the mouth of the great sea on the shore of its waters, and it extends to the west to Aphra, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gin, and to the south of the waters of Gin, to the banks of this river. And it extends towards the east, till it reaches the Garden of Eden, to the south thereof, to the south and from the east of the whole land of Eden and of the whole east, it turns to the east, and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it for ever unto his generations for evermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy, for he had said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and may the Lord dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of the Lord, and Mount Sinai the center of the desert, and Mount Zion the center of the navel of the earth, these 3 were created as holy places facing each other. And he blessed the God of gods, who had put the word of the Lord into his mouth, and the Lord for evermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons unto the generations for ever, the whole land of Eden and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east, and India, and on the Red Sea and the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon and the islands of Caphtor, and all the mountains of Sanir and Amana, and the mountains of Ashur in the north, and all the land of Elam, Ashur, and Babel, and Susan and Maidai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Ashur towards the north, a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. And for Ham came forth the second portion, beyond the Gin towards the south to the right of the garden, and it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west to the sea of Adal, and it extends towards the west, till it reaches the sea of Mayuke, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. And it goes forth towards the north to the limits of Gader, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea to the waters of the great sea till it draws near to the river Gin, and goes along the river Gin till it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham as the portion which he was to occupy for ever for himself and his sons unto their generations for ever. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeasterly to the whole region of Gog and to all the country east thereof. And it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Kelt towards the north, and towards the sea of Mayuke, and it goes forth to the east of Gader as far as the region of the waters of the sea. And it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Apharag, and it extends easterly to the waters of the sea of Miat. And it extends to the region of the river Tin in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters towards the mountain Rapha, and it turns round towards the north. This is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons as the portion of his inheritance which he should possess for himself and his sons, for their generations forever, 5 great islands, and a great land in the north. But it is cold, and the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but it is of blended cold and heat. 9. Subdivision of the 3 portions amongst the grandchildren of Noah. Amongst Ham's children, 1. Shem's 2-6. Japheth's, 7-13. Oath taken by Noah's sons, 14-15. And Ham divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Cush towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him and to the west thereof on the sea for Canaan. And Shem also divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Elam and his sons, to the east of the river Tigris till it approaches the east, the whole land of India, and on the Red Sea on its coast, and the waters of Dedan, and all the mountains of Mebri and Elah, and all the land of Susan and all that is on the side of Farnak to the Red Sea and the river Tina. And for Ashur came forth the second portion, all the land of Ashur and Nineveh and Shinar and to the border of India, and it ascends and skirts the river. And for Arpachshad came forth the third portion, all the land of the region of the Chaldees to the east of the Euphrates, bordering on the Red Sea, and all the waters of the desert close to the tongue of the sea which looks towards Egypt, all the land of Lebanon and Sanir and Amana to the border of the Euphrates. And for Aram there came forth the fourth portion, all the land of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and the Euphrates to the north of the Chaldees to the border of the mountains of Ashur and the land of Arara. And there came forth for Lud the fifth portion, the mountains of Ashur and all appertaining to them till it reaches the great sea, and till it reaches the east of Ashur his brother. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance amongst his sons. And the first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side to the river Tina, and in the north there came forth for Magog all the inner portions of the north until it reaches to the sea of Miat. And for Madai came forth as his portion that he should possess from the west of his 2 brothers to the islands, and to the coasts of the islands. And for Javan came forth the fourth portion every island and the islands which are towards the border of Lud. And for Tubal there came forth the fifth portion in the midst of the tongue which approaches towards the border of the portion of Lud to the second tongue, to the region beyond the second tongue unto the third tongue. And for Meshech came forth the sixth portion, all the region beyond the third tongue till it approaches the east of Gader. And for Tiras there came forth the seventh portion, for great islands in the midst of the sea, which reached to the portion of Ham, and the islands of Kamaturi came out by lot for the sons of Arpachshad as his inheritance. And thus the sons of Noah divided unto their sons in the presence of Noah their father, and he bound them all by an oath, imprecating a curse on everyone that sought to seize the portion which had not fallen to him by his lot. And they all said, So be it, for themselves and their sons forever throughout their generations till the day of judgment, on which the Lord God shall judge them with a sword and with fire, for all the unclean wickedness of their errors, wherewith they have filled the earth with transgression and uncleanness and fornication and sin.